They said tariffs would bring jobs back. Instead, machines are humming in Montreal, not Milwaukee. Container ships are bypassing Texas for Vancouver and the towns that once made America's steel, auto parts, and electronics. Quiet. The kind of quiet that means closed for good. Factories shuttered, warehouses emptied, entire contracts rerouted north permanently. Now, global manufacturers are rewriting the map. And guess who's no longer in the plan? 10 countries just made a stunning move, ditching the United States for Canada. This is not just about trade, it is about survival and what it means for workers, towns, and the future of American manufacturing. Number 10, Mexico. Once dismissed as a cheap labor outpost, Mexico is now the beating heart of North America's manufacturing surge, and it is pulling entire industries away from the United States. Why? Because global giants are no longer just outsourcing, they are repositioning. As Trump-era tariffs shake up trade routes, Mexico offers what many U.S. cities can't: stability, skilled labor, and direct access to key markets without the political drama. Auto parts, electronics, even aerospace components, once staples of American industry, are now pouring out of Guadalajara, Monterrey, and Corotoro. Meanwhile, factories in Ohio, Indiana, and Pennsylvania sit idle. For every new Mexican job, there is often an American layoff no one talks about, and the trend is accelerating. So, is this just smart economics or the slow hollowing out of American manufacturing? Because as Mexico rises, it is not just filling gaps, it is taking the lead. Number 9, the Netherlands. What happens when a tiny country punches far above its economic weight and wins? The Netherlands is quietly pulling business away from the United States, not with brute strength, but with speed, efficiency, and strategic thinking. As American ports clog and trade policy stumbles, Dutch logistics hubs are thriving. Rotterdam now moves goods faster than most American ports can unload a ship. But here is where it gets serious. U.S. companies are moving operations, talent, and investment to Dutch soil. Why? Because the Netherlands offers something America is struggling to guarantee: certainty, tax-friendly laws, high-tech infrastructure, direct access to Europe, and no tariff drama. It is not just trade, it is transformation. While the US argues over policy, the Dutch are quietly building the future of global commerce. Is this the new model American cities will have to chase, or the one they will lose to? Before we continue, be sure to subscribe, like, and share. The next country might shock you. Number 8, South Africa. How does a country halfway across the world become the new partner of choice for industries once rooted in America? South Africa was not always in the room when the world's biggest manufacturers made decisions. But now it is not just in the room. It is winning contracts quietly, strategically, and with surprising speed. American companies once looked only to China or Mexico for cost-effective labor and shipping. But trade wars, tariffs, and geopolitical risk have redrawn the map. And South Africa is suddenly on the radar. Minerals, machinery, and manufacturing are flowing into and out of ports like Durban and Cape Town. But this is not just about cheap labor. South Africa is investing heavily in infrastructure, energy, and tech-driven logistics. Special economic zones offer global firms tax breaks and access to vast regional markets. While American ports struggle with backlogs and political red tape, the most stunning shift: entire sectors, textiles, automotive components, pharmaceuticals are finding a new home there. And it is not just foreign corporations that are noticing. Nations that once leaned heavily on the United States are now striking bilateral deals with South Africa instead. When Trump-era tariffs fractured old supply chains, South Africa was ready with open arms and open ports. So what does this mean back in the United States? It means job losses in small towns where factories have already gone dark. It means fewer export opportunities for American agriculture and tech. And it means American influence, once unquestioned, is now up for negotiation. In a global economy that runs on trust, timing, and trade routes, South Africa is becoming a key player. While many US cities wait for the comeback that never arrives, will this quiet pivot become a global reshuffle? Or is it already too late to turn things around? Because once trade routes shift, they rarely shift back. Number 7, Russia. How does a country under heavy sanctions, political isolation, and economic pressure still manage to pull entire industries away from the United States? Russia is not just surviving the global reset, it is adapting fast. And in some sectors, it is thriving in ways Washington never expected. While American firms deal with tariffs, rising labor costs, and a tangled web of policy changes, Russia has quietly rewritten its playbook. It is leaning hard into domestic manufacturing, deepening trade partnerships with countries the United States once counted as allies, and expanding its footprint in energy, agriculture, and even tech. China, India, Turkey, Brazil. They are not just buying from Russia, they are building with it joint ventures, long-term infrastructure deals, railways, pipelines, and shipping routes designed to bypass Western control altogether. And what about American exports? In sectors like aerospace, chemicals, and machinery, Russia is actively replacing US suppliers with domestic or regional alternatives. Sanctions may have slammed the door, but Russia did not just sit there, it built a new one. Now, here is where it gets serious for US workers. Many of the raw materials and mid-stage products once processed in American towns are being rerouted, smelted in Siberia, assembled into Tarstan, shipped out through the Arctic, bound for markets the United States can no longer reach as easily. And let's be clear, this is not a return to Soviet-era isolation. It is something far more strategic, decoupling from US influence while capturing industries and buyers the US thought were locked in. So, what happens when your competition is not playing by the old rules and your own economy is stuck waiting for old promises to be fulfilled? Before we continue, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video. The next nation on this list might be turning your supply chain upside down as we speak, because if Russia can rewrite its economy under pressure, what does that say about America's place in the new global order? Number 6, India. What do you call a country once known for call centers? Now designing jet engines, building electric vehicles, and manufacturing the same goods American towns used to rely on. India is no longer the backup plan, it is becoming the destination. As tariffs push US companies to rethink their global footprints, India has positioned itself as the next industrial heavyweight. And it is not just chasing the jobs lost to China, it is absorbing many that were supposed to come back to the United States. Apple is making iPhones in Tamil Nadu. Boeing is building defense systems in Hyderabad. And pharmaceutical giants are shifting production to Gujarat. These are not small contracts, these are billion-dollar pivots quietly draining opportunities from American plants and port cities. So what is India doing differently? Incentives, infrastructure, scale, and perhaps most importantly, stability. In a world where policy uncertainty is the new normal, India is offering long-term partnerships, trained labor, and a market that is not just growing, but demanding. But here is the real punch. India is no longer just the factory, it is becoming the market. With a population of over 1.4 billion and a rising middle class, companies are not just moving operations there, they are moving priorities. What used to be made in America for export is now made in India for India. And the ripple effect, entire supply chains that once touched American soil, plastics, metals, electronics, are being reassembled across South Asia. That means fewer trucks rolling through US manufacturing corridors, fewer freight trains, fewer shifts. Meanwhile, towns from Michigan to North Carolina that pinned their hopes on a manufacturing rebound are seeing something else. silence, empty warehouses, delayed investments, and growing questions, because the longer India rises, the harder it becomes to compete, especially when America is still debating if the jobs are even gone. So ask yourself, when a company chooses between Pittsburgh and Pune, how many more times will they pick Pune? And what happens when they do it for good? Number 5, Fiji. How does a tiny island nation best known for turquoise beaches and bottled water suddenly start pulling in deals once destined for American ports? Fiji is not just a tropical escape anymore. It is quietly becoming a new favorite for countries and companies looking to avoid the political whiplash and trade tensions tied to the United States. Why? Strategic location, stable governance, and a business model that is being reshaped to attract global attention. As supply chains splinter and tariffs rattle the usual routes, nations across the Indo-Pacific are rethinking everything, including who they trade with. And for many, Fiji checks every box. Access to Pacific shipping lanes, diplomatic neutrality, and a government that is opening its doors to foreign investment with few strings attached. Already manufacturing zones are being tested. Renewable energy partnerships are expanding. Data centers and undersea cable projects are bringing digital infrastructure to a place once left off the economic map.